So let's continue our lesson for the day. So we would now be doing vocabulary development in writing. So question, how was your vocabulary? I hope it's doing good. So let us talk first about this. In some ways, the ability to write effectively hinges just on the what? Saan sabi dito? Adequate vocabulary. Even more than just the ability to read. So that's why it is not just being a good reader, but we should also know a lot of words. Once the student have learned to decode the words, they may be able to read and pronounce the words that are unfamiliar to them. But they may even be able to determine accurate meanings of unfamiliar symbol by examining the context within the words used. So learning the vocabulary is not just knowing the knowing all the meaning of the words actually. It's also what reading, knowing the words within those contexts or within the context of the sentence. That's why, as much as possible, it's not being ako lang for me, it's not just being a cognitive reader, but it's also being a wise reader. Because you you tend to read the words while you tend to understand the words while ano while you are reading it. It's like parang Miss Universe. Hindi mo alam yung question, pero dahil marami kang alam in a variety of situation, para bang you just stacking up, na 'pag tinanong ka na sa Miss Universe, alam mo na yung parang may alam dun sa konting-konti mong alam mong may masasagot ka talaga dun. So this is also through with the vocabulary words na you would be reading in the future, dapat at least may alam ka. Kasi you could just get the meaning within the context. Kuha? Next. So, as you can see, here are some words that I've prepared. So, hopefully you know abate, abstract, abysmal, accordingly, acquisition. Hopefully you know the meaning of these words and you know how to use these words. So, magpo-post lang po ako ng activity about doon sa vocabulary words na yon. I-upload ko yun siya sa Schoology. Then I would put some activities over there kung anong gagawin niyo doon. So please remember that during the writing process, however, a student does not have the luxury of what? Examining the words in the context and the words is used. He or she is creating the context. Gets nyo? Ulitin ko. During the process, however, a student does not have what? The luxury of examining the context of the word. But the student could create the context. Therefore, the writer must be able to spontaneously recall the words that are known not only by sight but are understood well enough to use it correctly. Ito siya. I know you have some of your favorite authors, but bakit nyo sila favorite actually? Bakit nyo siya favorite? Kasi, favorite nyo sila kasi y- yung alam nila, you are talking on the same page. Para bang, yung words na ginagamit nila, the situation that they are using is what? Somewhat you are what? Relatable. Nakaka-relate kayo. At yung storyline na ginagawa nila, ano, you could really relate. But there are also some authors that your friends could be suggesting them to you. But the saddest part there is what? Yes, sinadjust ng friend nyo. Yung friend nyo parang "Hoy friend, basahin mo si author na 'to kasi ang galing-galing niya." But when you read the text or book na sinuggest nung friend mo, parang parang wala akong maintindihan. I could not understand a thing, and you could not relate to the subject or yung gustong ipabasa. Ibig sabihin nun, the writer is not really talking to you. Gawa niyo? You could not relate because number one, you could not understand ano yung sinasabi ng author. Next is, maybe the genre is not with you. So that's why, make sure that as future writers, you know how to what? Use the proper words and you know your audience. Kasi, if you don't know the proper words, how can you communicate with the person who is reading what you are writing? So according to Maher and Browse, he stated that writing is dependent upon the ability to draw up words to describe an event. So, eto siya ang masakit. Kasi, some people, some people really, sabi mo, tanungin mo, ano nangyari kahapon? Some people could really talk about what happened, but not all people could write what happened yesterday. Kuha? Some of you could tell every second of what happened to your day yesterday. But if we would be talking about can you write what happened to you yesterday? Yes, some people could say it, ganito, ganito yung nangyari, ganyan. But if you really made up that into an article or a sentence, into a written sentence, people would be struggle. But a good writer has the ability to draw up words and describe an event. And the person who is reading that could really understand what the person is writing about. So please remember that the breadth and depth of a student's vocabulary will not have direct influence upon the descriptiveness or accuracy of his writing. There should be a variety in selecting the words to convey accurate ano daw? Meanings that is necessarily when speaking and writing the outgoes of the language art. May mga things na words should be exactly how you describe the situation. May mga words na feeling mo yun na yung words pero hindi siya tugma sa pangyayari. And according to at any level, written communication is more effective when a depth of vocabulary and command of language is evident. Ibig sabihin, mas convincing po yung sinusulat nyo if ano, mas may malalim ka na vocabulary. And the command of language is very evident. For example, what are you wearing today? So, ano ba yung sinusuot nyo? I'm wearing a black blouse. Yun lang, yung nasagot nyo. Parang, okay, it's not that imaginative. Yeah, okay, you're just wearing a black blouse. But, if I would say that, if I would say that the person that I'm talking to is wearing a velvet black dress with an A-line cut designed by Versace. Parang ganon. Tapos, when you feel the garment, it is very soft in the hands and the shoulders are exposed, di ba? You could imagine what the person is wearing. But if I would just say, I'm wearing a black blouse, that it gives a colorful imagination. Could you even picture it out? No. So that's why there should be what? A depth in vocabulary and a command in the language. So let us talk about the principles of vocabulary development. Because the words of the writer is what the most important tools in vocabulary development. It must be what also very important to classroom learning. Because how could you deliver your lesson if you don't have that wide variety of vocabulary? How could you communicate with your student if you don't have that wide variety of vocabulary? So let us talk first the rules. Number one, teacher must offer what direct instructions and techniques or procedures for developing a broad variety of vocabulary. The instructions can be provided what? Formally through language arts program, informally to various classroom interactions such as story time with students. So, ano ang gagawin niyo dito? For this activity, maghahanap muna ako ng ano, ng gagawin niyo dito. But I would assign something for you to do this. Number two, new vocabulary terms must be connected to students' previous knowledge and experience. If the students are unable to contextualize new words by attaching them to the words and concept they already understand, the words were likely to have what? No meaning. If meaning is lacking, the chances are pupils will just memorize the concept for testing purposes only. Ibig sabihin, those words will not just be meaningful. For example, I would just give you a list of words. After that, ano, if I would say, class, we would have a spelling activity. That is the lowest point ha, yung spelling activity lang masyadong mababa ang IQ na kailangan mo diyan. You would just be memorizing the words. Pero if sabihin ko na, "Okay class, memorize lang yung words." Okay, masabi apple, A-P-P-L-E, A-P-P-L-E, ba? Pero taas tayo second level. Level two, if I would say, "Class, let's do the word and the meaning." So if I would say doctor, so the spelling of doctor is D-O-C-T-O-R. Doctor. Ano ang meaning niya? Doctor is is a type of work that tends to patient, and uh, they cure the sick. Pero if you are one of the responsible teachers, you would say that, okay, class, we will be having a spelling, vocabulary exercise. You should know the meaning of the word. And also, you should also know how to, number three, use the words in a sentence. So that's why, as future educators, you should not just let your students what? Memorize the words, memorize the meaning, but also what? Apply the meaning of those words. Because it would become more meaningful in their learning. So thank you. So that ends our first lesson for today. So let's continue again later.